Hold on tight, beautiful souls, because you're about to embark on a journey that will seize your heart and refuse to let go. 20 years ago, a young woman stood on the edge of a raging ocean. Her trust in the one person she loved most shattered in a single, gut-wrenching moment. Pushed into the abyss, she should have perished, but she didn't. She rose from the depths, transformed, with a fire in her soul and a debt to collect that's been burning for 2 decades. This is a story of betrayal so raw it'll chill you, resilience so fierce it'll inspire you, and a revenge so meticulously crafted it'll leave you speechless. Drop a comment below. Where in the world are you watching from? Let's connect as we dive into this epic tale that'll keep you glued to your screen. Buckle up, because this one's going to hit you right in the feels. Rachael was only 19 when her world crumbled. Her mother, Chioma, had died when she was 10, leaving a void filled by her stepfather, Jude, who entered their lives when Rachael was 7. Jude was charming, with a warm laugh and a knack for making Rachael feel safe. He taught her to drive through the bustling streets of Lagos, helped her with college applications, and always had her favorite jollof rice ready after a long day. For over 10 years, he was the father figure she leaned on, especially after her mother's death left her grasping for family. But beneath his caring facade, Jude harbored a darkness, a greed that festered like a wound. Chioma had been a visionary, building a tech startup, Starwave Innovations, that revolutionized mobile payments in Nigeria. She also owned 2 beachfront properties in Victoria Island, worth millions. When she passed, her will named Rachael as the sole heir, with Jude as guardian until Rachael turned 21. At 19, Rachael was 2 years away from claiming her inheritance, and Jude, who'd grown accustomed to the wealth, saw his control slipping. The power, the properties, the company, they were his in all but name, and he wasn't about to let a naive teenager take them away. It was a crisp Monday morning in April 2005 when the first cracks appeared. Jude suggested a road trip to visit Rachael's cousin, Tina, in Port Harcourt. His voice was warm, but his eyes darted nervously, his smile a touch too tight. Rachael, lost in thoughts of her upcoming 20th birthday and her plans to expand Starwave, agreed without hesitation. After all, this was Jude, the man who'd raised her, who'd sat through her high school graduation with pride. They piled into his sleek Mercedes, the city fading behind them as they drove toward the coast. They chatted about her dreams for the company, her new boyfriend, Toby, and her excitement for the future. But as they approached the Starlight Bridge, a concrete giant spanning a turbulent ocean inlet, Jude's demeanor shifted. His hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles whitening. He pulled over abruptly, claiming a flat tire. "Stay here," he said, his voice clipped. Rachael stepped out anyway, the ocean wind whipping her braids as cars roared past. The bridge's edge was a low railing, the water below a churning beast of foam and shadow. She felt a chill, not from the wind, but from something deeper, primal. Jude moved behind her, his shadow looming. Time seemed to freeze. Then his voice sliced through the air, cold and jagged as a blade. "You think this empire is yours? I've run this company, managed these properties, built this life. You're just a kid who got lucky with Chioma's blood in your veins. I deserve it all." Rachael's heart pounded. She turned, but before she could speak, his hand slammed into her back. The world spun. The bridge shrank above her, Jude's face a mask of cold triumph as the dark waves rushed up to claim her. The ocean was merciless. It dragged Rachael under, salt burning her lungs as she thrashed against the current. Her arms flailed, seeking the surface, but the water was a living thing, pulling her deeper. As her strength faded, she saw her mother's face, her gentle smile, her fierce love. Would they reunite now? Darkness closed in, and she surrendered to it. But fate had other plans. She awoke 3 days later, coughing seawater onto a woven mat in a modest hut. The air smelled of salt and smoked fish. An elderly fisherman, Baba Olu, had found her tangled in his nets off the coast of Badagry, her pulse faint but stubborn. His wife, Mama Olu, who'd lost their son to a storm years ago, looked at Rachael like a miracle. They nursed her back to health, feeding her yam porridge and wrapping her in their warmth. But the girl who fell from the bridge was gone. The ocean had stripped away her innocence, her trust. She told Baba and Mama Olu she remembered nothing. Not her name, not her past. They called her Ife, meaning new dawn, hoping it would bring her luck. But Rachael remembered everything. Jude's words, his push, his betrayal. She wasn't ready to reclaim her old life. Not yet. For 5 years, Ife lived in the fishing village, learning to mend nets and navigate the tides with Baba Olu. The simplicity of a life grounded her, but at night, Jude's face haunted her dreams. She wondered what lies he'd told, what he'd done with her mother's legacy. Quietly, she began making inquiries, using the village's only internet cafe to dig into news archives. The truth was worse than she'd feared. Jude had reported her missing, claiming a robbery gone wrong during their trip. The police searched for weeks, found nothing, and declared Rachael dead. Jude, the grieving stepfather, inherited everything. He'd held a lavish funeral, weeping crocodile tears over an empty coffin, while the media painted Rachael as a troubled teen who'd likely run off. Ife's grief hardened into something sharper, resolve. She joined a community legal aid group, studying inheritance law and property rights. By day, she helped Baba Olu sell fish at the market. By night, she pored over legal texts, learning how to reclaim what was hers. She started a small seafood supply business, delivering to restaurants in Lagos. Every naira she earned, she saved, her plan taking shape. But the fire in her grew hotter with each discovery about Jude. He'd sold one of the Victoria Island properties, pocketing millions. He lived in a mansion, threw extravagant parties, and flaunted a new girlfriend, Zara, who was half his age and clearly enamored with his wealth. Worst of all, he'd erased Rachael's memory. Her childhood photos were gone, her bedroom now a sleek home theater. He'd spread lies that she'd stolen family money and fled, tarnishing her name in their old neighborhood. By her 7th year in the village, Ife was ready to act. She hired a private investigator, a grizzled former detective named Chuka, to track Jude's movements. The findings were a gut punch. Jude had taken over Starwave Innovations, running it into the ground with reckless deals while siphoning funds into offshore accounts. He'd sold the second property, too, and was living like a king. But the most devastating blow was personal. He told everyone Rachael was an ungrateful child who'd betrayed her family. The lies stung, but they fueled her. Ife enrolled in online courses, studying tech management and financial fraud investigation. She expanded her seafood business, using it as a cover to visit Lagos and gather intelligence. Her plan was no longer just about reclaiming her inheritance. It was about dismantling Jude's empire. Then came the twist that changed everything. Chuka uncovered a chilling pattern. Before Chioma, Jude had been married twice. His first wife, Ada, died in a house fire deemed accidental, leaving him her savings. His second, Funmi, drowned in a boating accident months after their wedding, her estate passing to him. Both deaths were investigated, but no evidence pinned Jude. Ife's blood ran cold. The man who'd raised her, who'd taught her to tie her shoelaces, was a serial killer who used marriage as a weapon. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was hunting a predator who'd kill again if unchecked. This revelation pushed Ife to new heights. She contacted the families of Ada and Funmi, sharing her story and evidence. Ada's brother, Emeka, and Funmi's sister, Ngozi, were skeptical at first, but joined her cause when Chuka uncovered financial trails linking Jude to suspicious insurance payouts. Together, they built a case, not just for Rachael's stolen inheritance, but for a pattern of murder spanning decades. Ife's seafood business grew into a tech consultancy, Dawn Tech Solutions, under her new identity. She deliberately bid on projects near Starwave, testing Jude's awareness. At a tech expo in Lagos, she stood face-to-face with him. Years of hard living had changed her. Her soft features hardened, her skin weathered by the sun, her eyes carrying a quiet intensity. Jude looked through her, dismissing her as a small-time competitor. His arrogance was her greatest weapon. For 5 more years, Ife built her empire and her case. Dawn Tech won contracts, undercutting Starwave and drawing attention. She reconnected with her mother's old friends, business partners who'd known Rachael as a child. Carefully, she planted doubts about her death, sharing snippets of her survival without revealing her identity. She gathered damning evidence, forged documents, tax evasion records, and emails showing Jude's embezzlement. But she also found something unexpected: peace. The village had become her home. Baba and Mama Olu were her family, their love unconditional. The girl who'd fallen from the bridge had been spoiled, naive. The woman she'd become was strong, purposeful, and whole. On a stormy Wednesday morning, exactly 20 years after her fall, Ife walked into Starwave's gleaming headquarters in Lagos. She wore a tailored black dress, her briefcase heavy with 2 decades of evidence. The receptionist, a young woman with a bored expression, made her wait, an old power move by Jude. Ife sat calmly, her heart steady. When she entered his office, Jude lounged behind a mahogany desk, surrounded by art bought with Chioma's money. 5 minutes, he barked, not looking up from his phone. I don't waste time on startups like yours. Ife opened her briefcase and placed a photo on his desk. Her and Chioma, laughing at her 18th birthday. Jude's phone slipped, clattering to the floor. His eyes locked on hers, recognition dawning. "Hello, Jude," Ife said, her voice a quiet storm. "Remember me?" His face cycled through emotions: shock, fear, fury. "You're dead. I saw you fall. No one survives that." Ife leaned forward. "I did, and I've been watching you." She pulled out a folder: bank records, forged insurance claims, tax evasion proof. She bluffed about bridge security footage, and Jude's composure shattered. "What do you want? Money? Half the company?" he stammered, sweat beading on his brow. Ife's gaze was unyielding. "Not money. Justice. For me, for Ada, for Funmi. You're a murderer, and it ends today." As he reached for his phone, sirens wailed outside. "I called the police an hour ago," Ife said. "They're here for fraud, tax evasion, and 3 counts of murder." Jude's eyes burned with hate. "You've ruined yourself, too. 20 years gone. No family, no life. Was it worth it?" The question hit hard, cracking Ife's resolve. Had she lost too much? But then she thought of Baba and Mama Olu, their laughter by the fire, the village that embraced her, the purpose she'd found. "You're wrong," she said. "I didn't lose my life. I found it. The girl you pushed was weak. The woman here today is unbreakable." Silence fell, heavy as the storm outside. Footsteps thundered in the corridor. The door handle turned. What happened next? The police stormed in, cuffs ready, but Jude's fate and Ife's hangs in the balance. Did she truly win, or did revenge cost her more than she realized? Drop your thoughts below. What would you do in Ife's shoes? Was her justice worth the price? Like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more stories that'll grip your soul and keep you coming back. Until next time, stay fierce, stay true, and keep shining beautiful souls.